Okay, great. Yeah, like I said, this is May 5th, Carpenter Provider AWS triage meeting. We're going to go ahead and look through some issues and also PRs as well. Figure it makes sense to start with the oldest. This one, bottle rocket, image garbage collection, high threshold percent. We've observed certain configurations do appear in kubelet config. What we also see is that the initial garbage collection always fails with image garbage collection failed once. Expected behavior is either passing user data is honored or some way for our defined volume to be evaluated. Included reproduction steps. Okay. So I think it just needs an investigation if they've included reproduction steps. And also a help wanted label seems could work.
I mean, it seems like they're just saying it flat out doesn't work, right?
Yeah. I mean, I still want to just put like needs investigation because then someone has to go in and look at it, but
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. I was just curious, more or less, trying to grok the issue.
we're good. Do we have the bot? Node claim label domain Kubernetes IO is invalid. So on 1.3.2 and 1.4.0, the behavior is present. Carpenter was able to create new nodes and we removed cast from the cluster, but after some time, we started seeing these errors in logs and no new nodes were being created. Kubernetes IO is restricted. They claim it was working fine earlier. Then Carpenter was able to make a new node claim.
Nope, they have multiple node pools inside of
Yeah.
their cluster.
I was gonna say the only way this is working is if there are multiple node pools, right? So oh, they say they just have the one. They put the whole CRD.
I'm also kind of curious what the actual requirement that's causing this is.
Yeah, same.
'Cause, like, that's a Kubernetes one. It doesn't seem like that's a custom one they've added.
Right. Creating no claim, spec is invalid. Just gonna ask them to share more information about the deployments. Also, other node pools in the cluster. The more this one is like needs information. Move on. This one looks like it has an associated PR. No disk size based on a formula of CPUs. I currently have one window and one Linux EC2 node class. In each of these, you specify disk size, which currently has to be big enough to handle the biggest possible node size. The smaller nodes are therefore wasteful, as pointed out in our most recent AWS client review. We have done a number of POCs with some commercial offerings out there. I won't name them, but they have the ability to specify disk size based on a calculation of the number of CPUs in the node. For example, 10G times the number of CPUs is 20, where CPU is 2. Sure, you can start creating multiple EC2 node classes labeled small, medium, large, but this would be the only reason I'd be cluttering up the config, and it would still be a manual mishmash of what someone thinks is best. Dynamic EBS volume size and node class. This pull request enhances the EC2 node class functionality by allowing the volume size field to be dynamically calculated based on CPUs. This change introduces flexibility in configuring EBS volume sizes, reducing disk space waste and simplifying configuration. I mean, without reviewing the whole thing, I'm just not sure if this heuristic's the correct heuristic that we would take or not. But I haven't spent too much time configuring volumes.
I'm curious to think this is just a resource. This is the ephemeral storage right on the node. I'm wondering. Oh, I guess never mind.
Yeah, so I mean, this does have some overlap with like the issue for dynamically sizing ephemeral storage based on pods. I mean, obviously, this is a slightly different use case.
Right.
Only thing I'd taken a brief look at this PR last week. I'm a little bit hesitant to add any of our own custom templating logic, if that makes sense.
Right. Like, I don't know if this more often than not ends up in unexpected behavior.
Well, it's less about unexpected, it's more about because I actually think the use case makes some sense. What I don't love is just us building out our own arithmetic logic for computing ephemeral storage size. I'd almost rather see us take in something like cell. So you can specify a cell expression rather than try and build out something custom.
I just don't know if like we would be correct about this.
I'm wondering if DRA would cover this though. I mean, I guess do you have any idea?
Oh, I don't think so, no.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, there's an argument that it depends on the use case. If you really need to change the size of the like attached volume to the node, like the root volume, then no, DRA is not going to cover it. if you really just care about getting enough ephemeral storage for a pod and it doesn't need to be the root volume, you could already use ephemeral volume claim templates.
Yeah, maybe worthwhile to ask them to do a quick RFC to like outline their full use case. I don't know if
Yeah,
I don't feel like I grok it.
yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay. I'll write up the request for an RFC following this meeting so we can keep moving to other issues. But I'll take that AI. Sorry, everyone, for the sudden white light. Carpenter controller pods not running in IPVS kube proxy mode, instead working fine in IP table mode. Carpenter controller pod fails to become healthy when using kube proxy in IPVS mode on EKS 130, works fine in IP tables mode. After switching kube proxy to IPVS mode and loading necessary kernel modules, Carpenter pods do not become ready. The logs show the following. Readiness probe failed, context deadline exceeded, error waiting for config map conformer to sync. I actually just don't know anything about this IPVS kube proxy mode.
I this feels like it's not something you do on the controller side because what if entomology changes how kube proxy updates the IP tables or how like networking is done, like how all the IP rules get filled in, either through IPVS, which is like IP table. There's a newer version of IP tables that's slightly more performant, but I don't see how that change would affect how the clients work because it's so low level. This is like the network cost going out and it's being figured out where to go through the IP tables slash IPVS and failing there seems like I don't know if their configuration is broken or something.
Right. I'm also not sure if this is, I'm actually not sure if this is a Carpenter issue per se. But again, I'm not sure. I can ask them to, I don't know, further detail their use case and why this might be something that they're desired. Also steps to reproduce.
Yeah. Do you think it's not something that you do at the application level, but yeah, so it's weird.
I'm also just wondering if in they're going through and adding steps to reproduce the issue, they end up finding something.
Maybe I think this is broke their own networking, but
Carpenter does not clean up empty drifted nodes. Oh, I know something about this. Okay, so we upgraded the AMI of an EC2 node class and saw an existing node claims and drifted status, which is expected. We also deleted all pods running on one of the existing nodes and have confirmed only daemon set pods are running there. However, the node claim slash node is not removed by Carpenter. Querying owners of all pods running on the node only get daemon set. Okay. Node claim status and event. AMI drift drifted. also consolidatable. Unconsolidatable node pool, jobs is non-empty consolidation disabled. So, right, this is there's a couple things here. The first of which there's an ordering that can happen in consolidation. I actually have a PR open right now that I'm adding some test cases to. But within Drift, what was happening was you could have a quick scan for empty nodes, and then those empty nodes were taken out as drifted nodes, which is not totally untrue, but basically if there's like some set of drifted nodes and like that's 10 drifted nodes and 2 of them are empty, we would only send the 2 empty nodes, and those would be considered drifted nodes. What's confusing to me is why that's not dropping through to emptiness. Like I would need to reread.
Is I haven't looked at the disruption logic for a while, but emptiness is not a real thing. Like emptiness is like per each of the disruption methods has empty instead of this empty bucket, right?
So emptiness is in this, there's 4 things we do for graceful disruption. It's currently that we do drift, then we do emptiness, then we do multi-node consolidation, and then we do single node consolidation, which is basically your underutilized buckets.
Hmm.
In multi and single, if we have empty, we skip over them because emptiness happened earlier. And so the reason that we skip over them is that there's an assumption that a budget for emptiness had applied and then those nodes were not consolidated
I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, so the way to try and respect that and not violate those budgets is then to pass over those nodes, and then the next time that we would consider empty nodes, we perform an evaluation of whether or not those nodes should be consolidated.
Got it.
So I have a change out right now, though, that's actually switching emptiness and drift. Because thinking about what do you do with a drifted and an empty node, the first off, the time to perform any kind of calculation on an empty node is super fast. And then also there's drifted and emptiness, or the behavior of like what budget to respect and everything when you have drift and emptiness. Again, within drift, you currently send your empty nodes first before you do any other drifted node. This change says actually skip over those empty nodes just like we do everything else, and leave emptiness to be evaluated within its own step. So that's part of the change. The other part of the change is that we'll do emptiness first. Back to this.
So you're saying in this case, it's being evaluated as drifted rather than empty and doesn't fall into the empty bucket? Possibly.
Right. So I can take a look because I have a PR, like I said, out for this exact area. I'll just mark it as needs investigation and assign it to myself. I'm wondering what happens is if we perform it for drift, mark unconsolidatable because non-empty consolidation's disabled. And then when we go back through everything, it gets remarked as consolidatable. And so we actually never get to emptiness. Karpenter not able to delete empty nodes. So this is a different issue. After upgrading, we're seeing the Karpenter is not able to delete the node even when there are no pods running except daemon sets. We are facing this issue in production clusters in which 60 plus nodes are in the cluster when these are empty. This is just a disruption budget of 10% when empty or underutilized. Okay. Yeah, I'll assign it to myself. Take another look. That's actually all the issues. And we can look at PRs. So this is help wanted on it. And it looks like it's still just awaiting a rebase. And then we can have someone take a look. Perf clearance inside cache after an ice.
I just need to take a look at this.
So you're still the correct reviewer and assignee.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Was there anything like wrong with it, or was it just getting back to it?
Just getting back to it.
So support providing multiple DNS IPs. Jonathan had left some changes. Okay, looks like it's still just awaiting feedback from the provider or from the submitter. I know we had talked about this a little bit. Avoid selecting subnets with insufficient available IP addresses and test.
Yeah, I still need to get back to this. I mean, we had kind of aligned it internally on it last week, so I just need to get something out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically we're not comfortable going forward with it in the state that it's in. It, in our opinion, introduces a sharper edge than the existing one. While also just not solving the issue it claims to solve. So I'm working on a pretty detailed write-up to explain the issue with it and what we would want to see out of potential RFC for a long-term solution.
Sounds good. Thanks again for taking that on. Some metrics don't appear in our metrics reference docs. Oh, is it just a proposal?
I think the proposal to improve the doc to generate metrics from something. I don't know. Nope, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, they almost submitted like an RFC.
In the weirdest place.
Just right in the README. But looks like it's, oh, I just ping. And support for bottle rocket FIP SOMIs. I know I was assigned to this. One of the biggest things is I need to do some investigation on whether or not uh the I think there's like multiple steps. I think when using FIPS SOMIs, you need to be able to look at whether or not you should use the FIPS endpoint as well. And I don't know if every AWS service has a FIPS endpoint or not that can be called. And so what I think can happen here is that we can still add the support for FIPS SOMIs, but do it in such a way that they are not reaching out to the FIPS endpoints. And that might actually just solve what they're looking for, but I still need to do investigation. Yeah, if using FIPS OMIs in a region that does not support FIPS endpoints, users must set use FIPS endpoint false, otherwise requests will fail. So I'll take another look at this. Add relabeling and metric relabeling to service monitor and Carpenter Helm chart. Looks like the latest. It sounds like they just need to update values.yaml so that folks can see it's an available option. Also adding a description. I'll just ping the author. The first page. CloudWatch alarms. It's just draft, so I don't think we want to do anything with this. This is my PR. No, Emmanuel, you had reviewed it originally, but basically it's looking to add the ability to do fault injection testing. But just have to respond to Emmanuel's requests. I'm just doing this in GitHub Actions. Add description when the node pool limit was not set.
Yeah, I think I may just push this in and then just do that part myself. Since it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to take it up or do you want to ping them?
I'm just gonna take it up. I mean, I pinged him like 3 weeks ago, so.
Cool. Once you have it out, I'll close this in favor of that one. Update the missing metrics. should already be captured by the interruption value.
Yeah,
Oh, this one here.
right. Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna close it. Yeah, I mean, they can comment if they think that something isn't addressed by this. That's in draft. I'm curious about it. Node overlay. It's probably worthwhile linking the new node overlay PR. They got merged, right?
What, node overlay?
Yeah, the RFC.
Oh, no. Very much waiting for more comments. Yeah, I mean, I guess a quick plug. If anybody has the chance, please do go review it. Uh, it is an updated version of the original, like of the RFC that was posted 6 months ago.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little different. It keeps the same elements, but it's a little bit more concrete in terms of like the next steps that we want to at least follow on with the alpha version of the feature.
Classify failures of fix. I think this is assigned to me. Yep. I'll just have to go through and just make sure this logging makes sense. Adding missing metrics by setting Karpenter corridor and updating metrics gen main.go.
As far as I remember, there were a few metrics being dropped.
Right, it does look like, I mean, even just, I wouldn't expect adding missing metrics to be a red feature.
Right.
Uh,
I'll just respond back to it. I missed this. I missed the fact that they got back.
yeah, thanks. I think you're already assigned, so just leave it as is. Dependabot, get back to you. How to check to filter supported nodes by Omni's architecture type. Added a check to filter nodes from node pool based on the required architecture for the provided Omni in the node class. It's like some questions from Jonathan that are still not addressed. I'll just ping the contributor. Omni discovery error message. I think this is also for me. All right, I'll take it on this week. Approved. SSH section under node class by adding public keynote and workaround of get parameter for issue 7651. Changes requested. Looks like Derek's got it. I believe is in the meeting.
Yeah, I think the documentation update makes sense.
Cool. Thanks for picking it up. Cluster side ready condition. I'm just gonna go ahead and check. Looks like tests were updated and docs were updated, but that was it. Okay, there's like 2 PRs mentioning that it should be moved to the validation controller. And I don't know if that's been done here. Maybe. I'll take a look. I think this was just for like a snapshot test, maybe. I'll ask Leia because I think she's still online. Add note about enabling the profiling flag. Overall looks good, just a couple comments. Also make the change everywhere, which is always a docs issue. Jason looks like they did some. They still failed to make it everywhere.
Wow. I had a
So,
follow-up comment. Oh, I'm not the last comment on it? Okay. I probably have a comment drafted because I remember re-asking, but I must have missed the enter. So yeah, I mean, other than it being everywhere, that looks good.
preview 1.4, general docs. What's the other one? Usually 4, right?
Um, Yeah, I think 4 total versions plus preview. I mean, basically just every path.
Good enough. Capacity block support. This is your draft.
Yep. I'll reach out for reviewers as I need them.
Sounds good. Unavailable offerings detail exposed as a flag and environment variable. This is
Oh yeah, I had asked for a use case there because I wasn't convinced by what they were saying. I could see us surfacing this, but the reasoning given didn't make a lot of sense to me.
you're also the last comment still. So this is changing the ice cache, right?
Yeah,
Thought we had talked about this pretty extensively in the past. But okay. I'll leave it with them. Instance type filtering. You just need a reviewer on this, right?
I'm still wrapping out some tests on it, I believe, but yes.
Just in case someone else comes along. Dependabot. This is that dynamic volume size we just talked about. Seems legit. Just need to confirm. Take it because it's a doc update. Okay, Jeremy's draft. Disable syncing taints from no claims to nodes. And it looks like we've got comment from Emmanuel as well. This is always okay. Any other comments or anything about it? Like I said, I know it's in draft, so. Okay, last but not least, bumping go mod. Should be pretty simple once it's working.
Yeah, nothing special here. Yeah.
Cool. I guess just open floor.
No, no provider specific stuff, but there is the zonal shift stuff for the upstream repo that we're going to talk about later. So we can, if we want to talk about it now, we can also wait for the upstream working group.
I think there's probably more to discuss than, you know, the last little bit of the meeting, but what I can do is, or could, if you already have it up, can you put it in chat so that people can track it, start taking a look?
Yep, let me link the issue.
Sweet. Thanks for doing that. Well, I think we have a little bit of time to get back to everyone, unless anyone has any complaints. Going once, twice. All right. Thanks everyone for joining the meeting, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Thank you.